Let's talk more about this with our political panel. Skyping in from Cincinnati, senior fellow at the Family Research Council, Ken Blackwell. Ken, of course, also the former Secretary of State of Ohio and the former mayor of Cincinnati. And tonight from Newsmax New York, we welcome for the first time attorney and political columnist Danielle Mclaughlin. Ken, first to you. We hear that human rights groups protest this, but don't the French, consistent with their culture and their laws and their ways of doing things, don't they have a right to say, we want something inherently French, and they can say no to the burkini?
Look, if it's inherently French to go naked, would that be enforced on people? I think modesty, JD, I think difference in style and dress should be allowable. The issue for me is their immigration policy, their slow economic growth, and the threat of radical Islam in the country, not someone who wants to be in full dress when they go swimming. I was for 2 years under George H.W. Bush, and for a good part of the first year of the Bill Clinton administration, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. I dealt with the State Department and our whole approach to human rights across the globe. And I think freedom of dress and modesty is a fundamental, human right that should not be transgressed.
All right, well, let me turn to Danielle, of course, an attorney, but I don't believe you sat for the bar exam in France. Danielle, human rights outweighs sovereignty and the local customs of the French.
Well, France is a strongly secular country. We have separation of church and state. France's separation of church and state is much stronger than we have here. We have an enormous amount of assimilation and diversity here in the country because we've found a way to respect one another and respect one another's religions. France is having a problem here. For many like me who believe that the ban was wrong, an appeals court, of course, today overturned the ban, but we do have politicians like Sarkozy coming out and saying that burkinis should be banned. The problem doing this is you're further marginalizing a segment of society, a religious group, and these are the kinds of things that lead to radicalization. If you're isolated and you're radicalized, you're going to lash out against the society that has marginalized you.
Well, let us move along from what's happening overseas with the burkini to presidential politics right here in the United States. Racial outreach has been the focus of the Trump campaign over the past couple of weeks, with a modification of message to minority groups. Mr. Trump held a roundtable yesterday in New York with leaders from the minority community. Oz Sultan was one of those attending the roundtable, and he told us he thinks Mr. Trump is better than the alternative. Listen.
He may not be presenting the best message with what do you have to lose, but I do have to say that Hillary's proposal for the same district that I'm in is Section 8 housing. How exactly do you promote job growth when you're promoting housing that people can't necessarily even get into if they earn, more than the cap?
Ken Blackwell, you happen to be African American, also the former mayor of Cincinnati. Your assessment of Mr. Trump and his outreach?
What Donald Trump understands is that many urban communities, if not most, need an infusion of capital. JD, I've said to you on a number of occasions, the capital seeks the path of least resistance and greatest opportunity. High taxes, overregulation, those things that keep capital from flowing into cities are the problem. These folks don't want more government. They don't want more dependency. They want jobs and they want safe neighborhoods. And I think if Donald Trump speaks directly to those issues of safe neighborhoods and opportunities created by an expanding economy and better schools in those neighborhoods, I think it's a home run for him. At the end of the day, look, we know that what we want is an opportunity society, not the expansion of the welfare state.
Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to expand our conversation and to welcome a phone caller at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629 to Wilmington, North Carolina. That's where Charlie is on the line. Charlie, welcome to Newsmax Prime. Hello, Charlie.
Yes.
Go right ahead, sir.
Steve, I'm first time caller. JD, and I'm disappointed that you're not on DirecTV in our state right now, Wilmington, North Carolina. But I do want to say that I'm in support of Donald Trump because it appears that the Democrats over the years have put the black community in a position of dependency on government rather than depending on what they can do themselves. And this has really created a sense of laziness and got to have handouts and give out instead of working with your own hand to make your own way.
Charlie, we appreciate the point tonight from Wilmington. Hope you'll call us again. Let me turn to Danielle, because you hear Charlie there on the southeastern coast saying he's all in for Trump. Now, admittedly, Mr. Trump has a big lead among minority voters, according to the polling, but for every vote he takes away, that puts a dent in Hillary's case and in her chance to win. Your take on this race heating up, especially with outreach to minorities, Danielle?
Well, I think minorities and all Americans want good jobs. They want access to education. And Secretary Clinton has put together a $275 billion infrastructure plan, which is meant to really start economic growth for people who have really lagged since 2008. We're seeing recovery in some sectors, and we're not seeing the recovery that we need in other sectors. And the other thing that all of us want is education. We want access and meaningful access to good quality education. And again, Secretary Clinton has put forth a very detailed plan, I would say, as it relates to low-income families getting access to tuition in state colleges. These are important things for all voters. The only other thing I'll add is we need to see Donald Trump going out there into communities. I know he was in Chicago last year, but standing in a room full of non-African Americans, talking specifically to African Americans, I think he needs to get out there and really bring his message to the people he's talking to.
Fair enough, and of course we should know, while you were mentioning that, we saw scenes from the round table yesterday. But Ken, Danielle's point is well made, and I understand that Mr. Trump is preparing to go to Detroit with Dr. Ben Carson, who grew up there. 20 seconds to you to give us the last word, Ken.
Oh, absolutely. You have to show up. You have to place the order. You have to, as the old Jack Kemp saying was, you have to show people who are not concerned about how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's important. He needs a program to get capital back into the neighborhoods, to get education preparation, not at the college level, but through school choice at the elementary and high school level. And I think he'll be on the path to expanding opportunity in those communities.
Ken and Danielle, for the first time, we thank you. Look forward to having you both back to talk about these issues again in the future. Now,